Attention bobsled riders! You will soon be embarking on a thrilling podcast down the icy slopes of the Matterhorn, so please remain seated, keeping your hands, arms, feet, and legs inside the bobsled at all times. Auf Wiedersehen! Hello, yodelers! We are the Matterhorn Yodelers. I am your host today, Peter, with my co-host,
Jackie,
and
Japheth.
And today, we're going on a fun adventure. Right?
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah.
This is going to be a fun adventure today. So we're going to be talking about this hidden backstory. I've been kind of like hinting at this and talking about this for several podcasts leading up to this. Wanting to talk more about this this hidden storyline that can be found in all the Disney parks around the world. It's called S.E.A. S-E-A.
Not just C.
Not the letter C.
I had problems with that when researching. I was like, where is this C? And I'm getting nothing.
No. It's the Society of Explorers and Adventurers. You may ask yourself, it's like, what is it? I
had no clue before.
Right.
No
Again,
idea.
I spelled C.
It's this hidden storyline. Like, this day and age, you hear all these Disney fans complain about how, like, there's no original IPs in the park, right?
What's IP?
Like, intellectual property.
Okay.
So, like Figment is a theme park IP, you know, what didn't come from a movie, you know? And so, but actually, Disney has actually been implementing this huge backstory that connects all the Disney parks and all these different attractions and people.
It's a rabbit hole.
It is.
It's like the Pixar theory.
It does, but in the park.
And it's real.
They drop little clues that connect everything together. I just think of that one meme where the guy's got all like the conspiracy theories,
yeah.
and he's all like, it all makes sense.
It's exactly what this is. So, the origins of this, it goes back to, believe it or not, Tokyo Sea.
Mm-hmm.
The first attraction was built, I have it written here, it was the Fortress Explorations Walkthrough attraction, which was supposedly the meeting place for this society, where you got people like Da Vinci and Marco Polo and these great minds that that we can, you know, consider famous people of history, and how they were actually all part of this big organization. Well, Disney has added a lot of other people to this organization, and even given some of them attractions, restaurants, water slides, you know, playrooms, like just a lot of weird stuff.
And little props throughout different rides.
Yes.
To connect them all.
So, the history, it says the society was first founded on August 12th, 1538. I don't know the significance of why. They could have just said 1538, and that would have been fine with me. But they August 12th. Why? I don't know. That could have been when it opened. I don't know.
Somebody's birthday.
Yeah.
I imagine you're like, August 12th.
Yeah.
It's August 12th. That's what it is. It was in Italy at Porto Paradiso.
Very good.
All right. Consisting of scientists, explorers, researchers, artists, travelers, and adventurers from around the globe. S.E.A. or C is dedicated to the continued exploration of the world's oceans and exotic lands. 4 guiding concepts are represented in C's original Fortress Exploration's crest: adventure, romance, discovery, and innovation. Selected as the best ways to represent the original charter and mission statement, which simply read, "We are the Society of Explorers and Adventurers, shall acquire knowledge through exploration." So, they started this like thing, and it was just this small little walkthrough attraction. But a lot of people started like getting into it, like, oh, does this draw a connection here? Does this draw a connection there? It actually goes back So the idea behind this, the organization, when the Imagineers were coming up with this goes back to Walt Disney World with Pleasure Island. They had
The Adventure
a club, the Adventures Club, which, it was like a kooky bar, basically, where you had fun characters and talking statues and things like that.
I heard it was the coolest.
Yeah, I wish I went.
Everybody that I worked with, they were so sad when they shut down all the bars and stuff. That was always like, oh, I missed the Adventures Club.
Yeah.
That was the one that people missed the most.
It was the thing that, there was a big hoopla, you couldn't even get in the door, on the last night, it was just packed like sardines. There were so many people that loved this attraction, and so it kind of retconned itself into this storyline. So technically, Adventures Club preceded the idea of S.E.A., but it's been brought into the fold as part of it because you can actually see artifacts from the Adventures Club throughout the world now because all the little props have now moved to different attractions all over the place.
And members of the S.E.A. of S.E.A., they have connections to these characters that were in the Adventures Club.
Correct. And so we're going to talk a little bit about some of these characters, their stories, and their attractions. So, why don't we start? Well, let me give you an example before we get into our characters that we worked on. I'll give you an example of one that you may recognize because you've ridden the Jungle Cruise. This is probably the most well-known member of S.E.A. is because when you're riding on the Jungle Cruise, you approach a waterfall called Schweitzer Falls, named for the famous explorer Albert Falls.
Not Dr. Schweitzer, the Nobel Peace
No,
recipient. Not him.
No.
Mr. Falls.
It's Albert Falls.
Albert Falls.
Albert Falls is what that waterfall is named after, and he is a member of S.E.A. And so that is just a little thing that a throwaway joke line in the Jungle Cruise is actually part of this deeper lore that's crazy.
And I wonder if they bring it up in the Jungle Cruise, if they really...
Well, they're actually... So with the updates to the Jungle
Right.
Cruise, you know how they're replacing all the people on the pole with the rhino?
Yeah.
All of those people on the pole have a backstory now.
Nice.
That's cool.
As members of S.E.A. There's a bug guy, and there's oh yeah. So they're going all in on S.E.A.
Yeah, I think it's good.
Yeah.
You already have the infrastructure there. Just put in a story, and what was all about a good story.
That's what it is. So even back in 2015, at the time, Bob Chapek, now the president of the company, he says, "Oh yeah, we're going to be doing more."
Well, it's a great base. You create the story into the parks, and then you create movies, and
You intertwine these. There's more connection. It's like when we were saying there's a connection between Tom Sawyer's Island and the Haunted Mansion,
Yep.
and how there is that connection, and so when you look at it, it's not like, okay, that's from the American literature right there, and then this is just a haunted house. No, it's intertwined, and
Yes.
there's pirates involved, and so it all brings together. And I think that's what they want to do is let's write a good story.
Yeah, and they've written some great backstories. Some were written by Disney, some were not, which we'll get into a little bit here. But Jackie, why don't you give us the person that you had?
so I had Barnabas T. Bullen.
Bullion.
Bullion,
Bullion.
like gold bullion.
Yes. So he is the founder and president of Big Thunder Mining Company.
Sounds familiar.
Sounds familiar. Maybe something like in Magic Kingdom.
Good
Yes.
Thunder Mountain? Yeah.
Thunder Mountain, yeah.
Both of them.
Yeah.
No, just Thunder Mountain. It's just a Magic Kingdom.
So this is a long-time mining company and became powerful on the East Coast. Family and considers gold to be his very birthright and by virtue of his oddly appropriate name. So he's searching for gold.
So if I change my last name to Gold, I like.
You're
Hey,
destined.
It's just how it
Destined.
is.
It's in your name.
It's my name. I have to have it. I'm destined to have it.
Yes. So he considers the ultimate gold strike to be his destiny, and while having Big Thunder Mountain, there's been trouble finding gold and mining. According to superstitious locals, Big Thunder Mountain is a very protective of the gold it holds within.
So it's like an entity, like the mountain.
Yeah, the mountain has
It
superstitious.
has like a higher power.
Yes. The backstory between Big Thunder Mountain is a very interesting and very big backstory that dates back to when it first was made. There was even a theme song.
Wow.
Oh, I didn't know.
I know you probably didn't. I just heard it recently. I was like, there was a theme song. Okay.
Station, there's a frightened, trembling man. His body's weak and feeble, and his skin has lost its tan. When I asked him for a ticket, he turned and shook his head. He grabbed me by the shoulder, and this is what he said. Before you get on board this train, there's something you should know. When I finish with this tale, you might not want to go. I listened with amazement at what he said was true. And now, my friend, the time has come to tell this tale to you. Hear the legend of Thunder Mountain. If you weak of heart and stay away from the Thunder Mountain Railroad. Thunder Mountain Railroad.
I don't think that has
Yeah, so Big Thunder is very protective of the gold, and the unfortunate soul who attempts to mine its riches is destined to fail.
Challenge accepted.
And so far the prophecy's coming to pass. The mine has been plagued by mysterious forces and natural disasters ever since. And yet the Big Thunder Mining Company is still in operation. And Barnabas is discovering new veins of gold and digging new shafts every day, offering a closer look at the Big Thunder mining operation than ever before. But they say watch out for runaway trains.
Interesting. Did they mention anything about the queue and how it feeds at Thunder Mountain? Did you see anything about that? Because I know they just did a recent update and they have an interactive queue.
Well, the C storyline got added when they did the Q.
Okay, so there's little like Easter eggs in there for it, hinting.
Yes.
Nice.
Yes.
Did you see anything about that? No.
No.
Okay, so there is a portrait
Okay.
of Barnabas in the queue. Actually, he in the queue at Walt Disney World. It's a big portrait. It's hard to miss. It's just kind of like right there. It's a big portrait, and do you know who the portrait kind of looks like?
Yes, the portrait is modeled after Tony Baxter.
Tony Baxter, the Imagineer.
Yes.
And there'll be a picture on Instagram. of
Yeah,
him.
we'll try to put pictures of these people up. So, yeah, he's got a portrait there at Walt Disney World as well at Disneyland.
I wasn't sure if he was at Disneyland. I
He
knew
is.
the story was based off of Magic Kingdom's Thunder Mountain, but I wasn't sure about Disneyland.
Yeah, his portrait is located in one of the windows in one of the small houses in the
Oh,
queue.
okay,
he's,
so-
Like-
it's hidden. You have to know where it's at to know
It's
where
like
it's
trying
at.
to find an Indiana Jones queue, the
The
Eeyore
Eeyore.
sign. You're like,
Yes.
where is it? I can't
It's
find
it's
it.
one of those situations, but it is there. It is visible, but yeah, you can still see a picture of him at Disneyland Park. So
I was wondering because my character is just they have little Easter eggs throughout.
and they do add the emblem, the S.E.A. emblem.
Yeah.
It's a
Big
just
S.
big S with the E and the A and the
opening of the S symbol.
Yes.
And so they do have that. I think towards the entrance of Big Thunder Mountain, they have that like emblem on there, is stating like this is a part of this storyline. So if you see this emblem with the S.E.A., it's a part of the C story.
That's
arc.
a Disney secret.
It is.
And you can really impress people with like these stories everywhere you go, and you can read upon it when you're in the parks, when everyone starts going there.
It's going to become more and more. You guys who are listening, you're on the ground floor on this, all right? Get it on the
You're
ground
welcome.
floor. You know, it's not known by too many people. You can blow people's mind by going, oh, you see this? This connects to this and that and that and that and that. In Tokyo, Shanghai, Hong Kong, all of that. So
It's all connected. That or they'll get you a straight jacket and be like, okay.
I'm sure it is.
All right. The beauty of having the internet now in our palm, we could definitely do all this research there instead of having to rely on our uncle telling us that Brigham Young was carried in that hearse at the Haunted Mansion.
Yeah.
yeah.
All right. So is it my turn?
Or do you have more?
Do you have more?
No, I'm good. Yeah,
Okay.
That's it.
All right. So I have Jacques Lindsay, it's Jock, Jock. And so I didn't know who this was. Peter goes, yeah, you do. And Peter mentioned that he's in the Indiana Jones film, you know, and he is. I'll give you a clue. He's got a pet boa named Reggie. Give me a moment. Okay, so he was in Raiders of the Lost Ark. So this is the only character in C
Yes.
that is not created by an Imagineer. This is a Steven Spielberg character from the movie Raiders of the Lost Ark. So Jock, he is his occupation. He is an aviator. He flies seaplanes or planes, and he is a bar proprietor. And he is an American. He is seen wearing a New York Yankees hat, and that's all I've seen, like pictures of him. I've seen 2 pictures, one of the movie, and then there's the portrait that I've seen of him. He's got the Yankee hat. So other than that, we don't know when he was born, and we just assume he was probably born in New York. We'll say that. And he is a pilot where he was a stunt pilot from the 20s and the 30s. Jacques worked together with the freelance air pilots who was hired by Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark in 1936, but his history with them goes back earlier. In 1931, he was in the Lost River Delta at Cusco, Peru, to uncover the Temple of the Crystal Skull. And then in 1934, he was in South America looking with Indiana Jones for the Calendar of the Sun. So basically, he was Indiana Jones' like trusted pilot.
Yep.
And at the time, Jock had he was based in Venezuela, and he had like a bar there too. But he did like we're his freelance air pilot, and Indiana Jones was flying in and out of there. I imagine he was working with the other members of C. That's how he's getting in with the know. And I did a lot of research. It's like, is Indiana Jones a part of C? And he is not officially part of it.
Not officially.
But he is all over this. Like, he's
Oh, yeah.
everywhere. And I don't know if this is just because of the rights to the character.
It probably is.
I really think so.
Yeah.
Like, you can mention his name, but you can't put him here, or you can't put him in this movie. Because originally Indiana Jones was a Paramount film. And so there's a lot of rights in dealing with this character. But they can use him in the parks, and I think this is backstory. There's no
Yes.
media being produced from this as of right now. But this friendship with Indiana Jones, he was in the keys to the tomb of the gods. He went into Shanghai, met with Short Rounds, and I kind of have this theory where Short Rounds is like, where does this orphan kid get a New York Yankees hat? And the, what is it called? Temple of Doom? You know, where does he get that hat? Indiana Jones is not a Yankees fan, or I don't know if he is. He wears a fedora. But sure enough, Short Rounds has this hat, and I think he gets it from Jock.
Oh.
So I saw that, I was like, oh, so he did meet up with him. And so from there, Jock takes him to Peru, where we see him in that scene where he's going to the Chachapoyan fertility idol with a big ball, where he, like, that whole scene, he's the pilot, takes him there, where he bumps into his arch nemesis, Renee Belloc, and he gets away with what he needs to because he speaks Jovito, and, you know, that's when India runs. And he's screaming like, "Jock, start the plane!" and you see Jock with his, like, he's fishing, he's got a catch, and he's like, "Oh, dilemma, oh, can I pull it up?" And he's like, "Oh, crud!" And, you know, and he, like, throws it down, he gets the plane started, and Indiana Jones jumps in the waters. The Jovito tribe is spitting darts at him and arrows, and Indiana Jones jumps in the plane, and there's a classic scene where you learn Indiana Jones does not like snakes, and Jock has a pet boa named Reggie, and so you know, there you have that classic line of where it's all like,
"Oh, that's just my pet snake, Reggie. I hate snakes, Jock. I hate them. Come on, show a little backbone, will ya?"
It's one of the first characters you meet in the Indiana Jones universe, and he's introduced into this Disney universe, and so I'm just loving this because, yeah, they acquired the rights, but he's in now. Like, he's getting weaved into the fabric and the story of the Disney parks and adventures. And so another Disney weaving here is, since he was a pilot in the 20s and 30s. Jock makes it out to California, and he is a performer in the Bigelow Circus. And you're like, Bigelow Circus? Where have we heard that, Jackie? Put you on the spot.
Case.
The Rocketeer!
Good
right?
guess, Jackie. That was a good
I'm
one.
glad you whispered it to me, because I wasn't sure. So he's in the Rocketeer. And so he's not in the Rocketeer, but he performed with them. And so you could see, like, the story is, and I'll get to it, there's clues about his story in his restaurant, or his bar. And so this bar comes about when Dr. Jones and Jock are flying, and he is looking for the Fountain of Youth in Central Florida. Well, if you've been to Central Florida and you've made it up kind of north to St. Augustine, that is where the famed Fountain of Youth is. And I've been there. And I've drank from the Fountain of Youth. And it's been 10 years and I look older. So I think it was a lie. And it tasted like garbage. It's sulfur. There's sulfur in the water. They tell you what it is. And it, like, burns your throat a little, or it makes it tickle, and you could taste it. Like, you got a fountain drink, and you could tell, like, when they used the local water, they didn't filter, because you could taste the sulfur in the Coca-Cola, and you're like, ugh, this is gross. I'll take a water bottle. And so they were looking for it. They didn't find it, but Jock stumbles upon this nice, like, water. And so he, you know, it's known as the town of Disney Springs, and so this beautiful fountain. So they're trying to establish a story behind, not Pleasure Island, not Downtown Disney. No. Disney Springs. And this all happened in 1938, and Jock comes back to the spring in the town in 1948, post World War II, and he builds an airplane hangar in the town to settle down as his snake Reggie and him enjoy the Floridian ecosystem. And for me, for living in Florida and knowing that there's a serious, like, boa issue in the Everglades, I'm like, thanks, Jock. You're introducing an invasive species into the Florida ecosystem. You're a jerk. So they move there and they set up this place, and he decides to set up a bar, and it opens in 1955, and it soon becomes the headquarters, or the or he brought in members of the Society of Explorers and Adventurers, S.E.A., and also befriended splinter factions of the Adventure Clubs. And this became their headquarters. This little hangar, this little like abode in this nice, beautiful spring. And now it's open to the public at Disney Springs, and you can, enjoy what this organization's headquarters has. And so there's trinkets of all sorts of things. Like you could see the head of the fertility god of the from Raiders of the Lost Ark. It's there. They have a story where.
Oh, so he got it from Bollock.
Bollock
dropped it off.
Well, Bollock died.
Oh, that's true. Bollock died.
He died, and he had a tragic incident with the Ark.
That's right. I forgot about that.
Got a little too hot for him. A little waxy. And so I think they paid $500 to have it come back. It was somewhere in Morocco, I think. I think that's what the story was. And so there's stories that bring in all what you see in that bar has a story that feeds Jock's story and him. And so there's different there's one thing with Jock's plane. It's called OB3PO. So you're like, well, that's weird. Is it Obi-Wan and C-3PO? And yes, that is the feeding contribution to the name of his plane. And so that's what he calls, and then he has a little steamboat on the side called the Reggie. And so now you know, that's named after the snake. Mm-hmm. So Jock is he is affiliated with several members of the Adventures Club, Samantha Sterling, Hathaway Brown, and Otis T. Wren. I don't know the significance of those names, but for those that love the Adventure Club and the story behind it, he's got a connection to them through probably props from that club that have made it into the headquarters of S.E.A. There's a connection with Jock and the Jungle Cruise. One of the log has Jock and the flight log book. The bar also has a lost and found that has shrunken heads from Chief Nami. Mm-hmm. Nami? And then in Marvel Comics, there's a keys belonging to her Howard S. That would be Howard Stark. Tony Stark's dad, and then there's a sign that goes, there's a sign that alludes to Iron Man where it depicts a robot reading the iron, and then it crosses out Fireman, and it just has it crosses out fire. And so you're like, oh, okay, there's a little homage to the Marvel universe. So wow, now Indiana Jones is associated with like Marvel. That's what's like. This is, I mean, Indiana Jones. There are comics that were created by Marvel. So technically you can say, yes, it's in the Marvel universe, but now it's in the Disney Marvel universe in the connection of it. And again, this is just a bar and a restaurant. So Disney's doing whatever they can to be like, come on in. It's important. It's significant.
Well, they got Easter eggs for they got like a T-Rex tooth.
Yes, they do.
Yeah.
Do you know what it says on there?
I know it's a message for Steven Spielberg.
Yes, it has an S on there. It goes, notes, thanks for getting me out of the island.
That's it.
Because the pilot from the movie flew to Hawaii to get Spielberg out of there because of a hurricane.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of like...
a
nod.
Yes.
And then their Easter egg, that was an Easter egg. Jock's address is 1138 Seton Avenue. Do you know, I don't know if you know this, but do you know what 1138 means?
Oh, yes. That was a George Lucas film, THX 1138. That was a kind of an experimental film that George Lucas made prior to Star Wars.
Yes. And so that is kind of a little nod to George Lucas, who is a character from Indiana Jones. It's a George Lucas production. And then there are plane parts with the RTO-D2 and RXE TAC-24, R2-D2, and then RX-24 from Star Tours. That was the pilot.
Captain Rex.
Captain Rex. And not the one with the cool, devil horns with a helmet, Captain Rex. So, yeah, that's Jock, and... you're like, how did he become a member? And that story's still not written yet. It's just they needed a headquarters to pull all their cool stuff that they find, the members, and so that's how he's introduced. And he's associated with adventure through Indiana Jones. And so you would think, why isn't Indiana Jones a member? It's like, well, it may be because they can't do it, and maybe this is the way they get Indiana Jones as a member, is through his driver, his airplane pilot. And so I think that may be a reason why this character is part of it, because there's no character that screams adventure like Indiana Jones.
Very true.
I mean, even his own dad was all like, "Is this, this isn't like normal?" And he's like, "It is for me, Dad." So yeah, I appreciate you picking this character out for me. You know me, I'm wearing my Indiana Jones shirt right now. I love it.
Yes.
And so
as soon as I saw that he was a member, I'm all like, well, I know which one I'm giving Japheth.
Is there a president?
No.
Okay.
There are like heads of the organization from time to time. Like for example, the person I have, he was a head. He was part of a few people that were in charge of the organization. Not necessarily one figurehead above all, but kind of like a committee sort of thing.
yeah, it doesn't seem like there's too much of a hierarchy.
No.
It's more like, hey, we're equals, but we all gotta kind of...
We're collaborating with each other.
Yeah, they got kind of like a mantra that they go by, but there's no like, there's ethical rules, because there is a character within the organization that has broken the rules.
Yes, and he got kicked out.
Yes, and so there are rules for this group, but it seems like, hey, you do your thing, but
Yeah.
like we're all part of this group, this good old club.
Gang.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's kind of cool.
So my character, you would almost call him borderline should have been kicked out of the
Awesome.
organization.
Hey, rules are meant to
So-
be broken,
So
not laws.
I have Henry Hightower III.
Oh yes, I'm not surprised by this one.
Oh, well, why not? Because where Henry Hightower is, so I can give you the heads up as to his origin. He is basically, he has his own attraction at Disney Sea, the Tower of Terror, but it's not Twilight Zone themed. It's just different. So it's the Tower of Terror. So surprise, surprise, the bellhop from Tower of Terror picked the Tower of Terror Sea connection.
Seems appropriate.
Also, he probably has the most detailed story out of all the members because he has his own attraction. It's him and Henry Mystic.
The Phantom Manor.
Mystic Point.
Mystic Point, okay.
Yeah. That's the land. I'm trying to remember what the name of the attraction was.
That was Phantom Manor.
No,
Haunted Mansion.
Mystic Manor.
Mystic Manor. Mystic Manor. Okay. That's
Mystic
the one with the
Manor.
little monkey.
Yes. So the Hong Kong attraction. So
Okay.
those two have the most detailed story. It's where we get most of the storyline about sea in general, and its operation. So Henry Hightower III, he was born in New York in 1835. And his story goes, while he was escaping from hostile natives in the jungle of the Congo River, he and his expedition crew ran into the dreaded Mutundo.
They're the worst.
The dreaded Mutundo. They were surprisingly friendly towards the foreigners and invited them to share food. During the meal, Hightower learned of the tribe's protective deity, Shariki Utundo, personified in the form of an idol resting on an altar in the village. With his curiosity and greed lit a fire, the businessman tried to convince the tribe's headman to sell the statuette to him. When he refused, Harrison stole it from the village and fled with his expedition. Oddly enough, the Mutundu gave no indication of wanting to chase them for the crime, even appearing to be smiling slightly. So we're already off to a bad start with him. So
It's like, isn't it odd that they're not chasing us?
right, and he's smiling at us. So he makes it back home to New York. So on the afternoon of December 31st, 1899, Harrison Hightower threw a press conference and a New Year's Eve party in his hotel to boast of his latest find. He was a person, he goes from place to place. I would kind of compare
He's
him to
a Belloc.
A Belloc.
He's an
sort
antiquity collector.
Yes.
He's the opposite of Indiana Jones, where he goes, "It belongs in a museum."
And he kind of hoards it for himself and sort of thing. So, when a reporter, Manfred Strang from the New York Globe Telegraph, asked if Shiriki Utundu was really cursed, he got annoyed and threw them out. So, that night, while his celebration was a success, Harrison retired early at the stroke of midnight to find a spot for the idol in his penthouse apartment. He was stopped at the... not important storyline. He got stopped by someone. It says, "You need to show that idol more respect." He sneered at him, refused, and defiantly put his cigar and extinguished it on the statue's head.
Oh, heck no.
Yeah.
Lovely.
Nice guy, right?
Yes.
Nice guy.
Seems like a great guy.
Seems like, he's not going to get what he deserves in the end. That night, while on January 1st, 1900, 12 a.m., midnight, inside the elevator, Shiriki Utundu came to life with an evil green glow in its eyes, horrifying Mr. Hightower. The cursed idol gave out a terrible laugh as it summoned green lightning to blast Harrison into oblivion, plunging the elevator down the shaft and causing the chaos that led to the hotel's closure and its reputation as a haunted place. Fine. But eventually what that happened was the Society for Historical Things in New York, they decided to open up the hotel to show off all of the exhibits and things that he had procured.
So he's in because of what he collected.
Correct.
It's all his adventures and procuring.
And there's lots of murals of him procuring many things from across the world, from Egypt to the Amazon to all over the place. There's things that he's collected. Anything that catches his eye, he tends to go out of his way to make sure that he obtains, which as you go through the queue, you will see them displayed throughout the queue of all of the things that he's procured throughout his years as a member of S.E.A. So that's kind of his story, his backstory. What he looks like, he's designed after another Imagineer, Joe Rohde. And you may ask yourself, do I know who Joe Rohde is? Well, if you've seen any Disney documentary, at least dealing with modern day parks, he's the Imagineer with the earring.
Yeah, the one that stretches your ear where you can't stop but go like...
You can't stop staring at it.
I actually saw him in the Walt Disney World documentary.
Yes.
Where he was designing the boats for Norway.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh, it's a young version of him because his ear was not drooped down to his neck.
I've seen him when I worked at Animal Kingdom.
It was Crown Jewel
Hotel, the resort, and he was there with Jane Goodall. Yeah, it was an anniversary, and they came to stay at the resort, and I saw them both. But yes, his earring is very interesting to just look at.
Yeah, he says people just mail him earrings. He's got too many earrings, and so he keeps some of them, but he
has a collection on Etsy.
Pretty much. He's like, I've got a lot of earrings. I'll never get to wear them all. Some of them are cool. So... But yeah, his Harrison Hightower was designed after Joe Rohde. So if you see the picture, which we'll post on our Facebook and Instagram and stuff, you'll see it looks just like him, just without the earring. He'll look very stern and very angry Because that's how they kind of portray him as this grumpy old man that just wants everything.
That's the greatest homage to like, oh, well,
One of the nicest men, you know?
Yeah.
Right deep down, he's probably like a real jerk. And you're like, this guy, I hate him. All right, let's make him into a character. Let's make him into a villain. That's the best way to do things. It's kind of like the Sun Devils logo for Arizona State.
Oh, yeah.
Was designed by an old animator, and it was the face, if you look at him, has the mustache of Walt, and people say, oh, that's him saying Walt is the devil.
Yes. Yeah, I have heard that story.
Go Sun Devils.
All right, so now that we've got his story out of the way, he has several Easter eggs that are found throughout the world. Okay, we'll start with he's got one at Auntie's Beach House in Aulani in Hawaii.
Yeah.
He's got one at the Bengal Barbecue at Disneyland.
Really?
Yes, so like in that little area where you can
the eating area.
The new eating area where the old Indiana Jones shop used
Bring it back.
There is a picture of members of S.E.A, including Harrison Hightower, and I believe
there's another person.
There's a few others, and I think your character was one of them.
That could be.
So, yes, and he's holding his idol as well in the photo. He's also found in the Trader Sam Enchanted Tiki Bar. There's a reference to him at the Disneyland Tiki Bar, the Disneyland Hotel.
Yeah, the hotel.
There it says Harrison Hightower III is mentioned in a letter hung in this bar sent in 1912 from the New York Preservation Society to Trader Sam, a character from the Jungle Cruise. The letter explains that Hightower's right-hand man was Trader Sam's grandfather, Billamongawanga, a.k.a. Trader Bill, whom the NYCPS, the New York Preservation Society, sent Sam a portrait of recovered from the Hotel Hightower. So there's a letter there. The Tropical Hideaway in Adventureland. We're back in Adventureland. He has an oar. There's several oars there from members of S.E.A. So Tropical Hideaway is a big sea restaurant.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you'll see tons of all the members of S.E.A., many of which we don't know the backstory of.
There's a crate there where they say live snake and Jock's names on it.
Yep. So there's an oar there with that points out.
They also have names on there of stories of characters that we don't know about. Like we don't know their story, so we don't know. If
at least not yet.
Not yet. And so the story is each time they go on an adventure, the oar that they use, they come back and then they put on there.
Yes.
I was like, oh, that's cool.
It's a really cool little backstory there, and so. Then we're getting into some of the more foreign parks. You got the Oceaneer Lab on the... Well, this one's not a park. This one's on the cruise line. This one's on the cruise line, so there's a...
Who's the character?
A newspaper there. I have her name.
Because her and Jock are the, newest members
yes.
from 1955 on.
I have her name somewhere around here.
Yeah, but on the boat... It's the play area that they have named after it.
Mary Oceaneer.
Yes.
Mary Oceaneer. So there's a reference to him there, a newspaper that talks about the hotel and what happened there and how he went missing. Hong Kong, they've got Mystic Manor, where there's a picture of him with a large group of the members of S.E.A. Tokyo Sea, there's another reference in Raging Spirits. And Disney World, let's see here. Disney World, we've got the Skipper Canteen. He's got a couple books that he supposedly wrote. One titled Mine Treasures of the Animal Kingdom. And Everest Expedition, Search for the Yeti, which ties back to Joe Rohde, who actually designed Animal Kingdom and Expedition Everest. So that's kind of a connection more to Joe Rohde than to Harrison Hightower. But
The connection.
Harrison
is
Hightower is the one who's credited as writing those books. So that's found at the Skipper Canteen.
Oh, I still want to go. I would totally go there. I saw a video where they show where it's at, and it's where the old ferry Glen meet and greet was.
Yes. So another connection that's not necessarily a connection to Harrison Hightower, but maybe his brother or someone related to him, because there was a Hightower that was married, was one of Constance's husbands.
The Haunted Mansion connection.
There's a Haunted Mansion supposed connection. It has not been confirmed, but there is a Hightower that did marry Constance.
One of her victims.
One of the victims. So, those were the references I have about Harrison Hightower. So, what were your thoughts? Because you guys, every time I kept bringing this up to you guys as an idea, you kept going, okay, alright.
I had no clue. I didn't think what I learned was, I had no clue what I was going to get this from what I learned. I love the connection. I love the intertwining. It's like why I read the Star Wars books, because I know it's not Star Wars movie level, but it's the little stories that connect and weave itself through the universe that make it fuller. And I think that's what we're doing in the parks, or the Imagineers are doing.
Yeah, I think it's just a really cool way for the Imagineers to kind of create their own story and impact, but secretly. And it's just cool. I'm learning about these stories. I'm oh, I can't wait to go back to the parks and look for these symbols. It's kind of just a way, cool thing to point out that no one most likely will
A crate
know.
is just not a crate, or a picture. It's just,
right.
It has meaning, and there are the fans that go to the park so much where you ride the rides and you're that was fun, but to have something to look forward to and to feel oh, it's part of the story. Now I'm part of the story.
That's it.
That's what's really cool, and I appreciate it, and that's why I as I was doing this, I really appreciate this topic that we were discussing.
So, in a way that I just when I first heard about this whole thing, because I knew about the Tower of Terror, Harrison Hightower. I knew about that because the attraction opened back in 2006, which, random fact, I was in the training footage for the opening cast of the Tower of Terror in Japan. I said, "Welcome, Tower family."
So the training.
In the training
Have you
video.
been looking on YouTube?
No, it doesn't.
Somebody will
it's not
upload
there.
it.
No, it'll probably never come up ever, unfortunately. But I was in a training video for the Japanese cast members for the opening of the Tower of Terror in Japan.
They're stupid Americans,
right? So, so I knew about that, and then all of a sudden I started hearing these little things about S.E.A. And I was well, what is S.E.A.? And the Society of Explorers and Adventures. And you started hearing Henry Vistic is about it. And then, this person's, and then you're wait, these are all in different theme parks around the world. They're creating this massive storyline that nobody knows. And it's great. To the point where I think they recently announced that they're working on a TV series based off of S.E.A.
I think it would be so cool to
learn more about these different explorers and their adventures.
And these are fictitious characters, but but we like adventure, and there's our past where there's just so much that we don't get to see in that period of exploration of new frontiers and or exploring things that have been hidden for so long, and I just love that. That's what I love about the Indiana Jones period. It's it's a period that just really is not there now.
True.
So that's going to do it for us today. I hope you guys really enjoyed it. I really encourage you guys to dive deeper because there's so many other characters and storylines and dots to connect. I hope you you take some time and actually look this up because it is a crazy cool story.
I spent a lot of time on this, and I was like, I hope I can do this justice and my little part.
I've never had so many notes for a podcast.
And when Googling it, it's not organization, letter C.
Yes.
S.E.A. That's why I made sure I said it's S.E.A.
Yeah, what were you on that line? The way I found my character was Reggie the Snake. That's how I knew it. And sure enough, it popped up.
So, thank you once again. You can follow us on Facebook and Instagram. You can send us a voicemail. Tell us about your person you want to know more about in S.E.A. Or maybe an attraction you would like to see a member of S.E.A. come from.
Ooh. And do it in a creepy voice, too.
So, and you can email us at gmail@matterhornyodelers at gmail.com. And... Did I hit them all?
You got them all.
I got them all. Well, until next time, Auf Wiedersehen.
Thank you for joining us on this week's episode of the Matterhorn Yodelers. Please remember before your bobsled comes to a complete stop to follow us on Facebook and Instagram. And remember...
I hate snakes, Doc! I hate them!